Hello and welcome to my craft room. I have got a little unplanned project to share with you today. It's something I was inspired to have a go at after watching a video by my good friend Paula, Crafter Artisaurus here on YouTube. I'll put a link to Paula below, of course. She's not long started her YouTube channel and it's lots of fun, lots of inspiration on there. Like me, she does a kind of mixture of things, some stitching, some of her beautiful whimsical paintings, and little glimpses of New Zealand where she lives. Well worth checking out if you haven't done already. Please do go over there and have a look, get some ideas and inspiration, and show her some support. Anyway, one of the videos I've been watching of Paula's recently, she was showing this stitch book that she'd got. I think she got it from Temu or AliExpress or somewhere, and it wasn't quite what she was expecting. It was smaller than she was expecting in a different format. But I looked at it and thought, oh, I'd love to have one of those to do stitching samples in, because I've been thinking of putting a little kind of like a sampler book of really simple stitches for slow stitching together. I've got my vintage Stitchionary as well, where I'm following along. It's taken me a time to do it, but I keep going back to it. I've been following along with Creating Craft with Christine's Dictionary of Stitches that she did last year. I'll put a link to her below. That is a fabulous series, well worth watching. A series of about 170 odd short videos that she did as live premieres at the time, working through the alphabet, exploring lots of different stitches. It's a great way to build up your repertoire, and they're lovely fun little videos to watch. So I'm doing that as well, and I'm doing that in a big book that I'm creating about this sort of size. Goodness knows how fat it's going to end up. All using vintage fabrics and trims and threads as well. So that's a really fun project, but something that's going to take me a time. I've known from the beginning that it might even take me years to complete. This is going to be a much quicker project, and once I saw it and I got the idea in my head, I just had to run with it. So I'm going to do it now, completely unplanned. I'm just going to do it. I've got some bits and pieces together. So let me show you. I just put in the search term stitch book online just to see if I could find anything like it, and lo and behold, something very similar to what Paula showed that she got from Temu came up. Now, I think she was also a little bit disappointed in the fabric. It said it was linen or whatever, but I think quite often with these, when you buy things from these companies, they're cheap and they can be really, really good, but sometimes they are kind of cheap knockoffs and maybe look the same in the photos, but you're not going to get the same quality materials. So I reckon maybe the original was linen and would have been lovely to hand stitch into. Let me show you. Stop gabbling and show you what I mean. So here's what this looks very like what Paula had there, but that is 28 quid, and I don't think Paula paid anything like that for. I can't remember what she said she paid for it, but I'm sure it wasn't anything like that much. It's lovely. I love the idea. Look, like the kind of thing that you can do with it. Brilliant. But of course I straight away looked at this and thought, I can totally make this myself. I've got so much fabric. I've got a crocodile that will put the eyelets in, and I've got some book rings, or I might just tie them together with scraps of cloth and make buttonholes instead of eyelets. One of the things I loved about the idea of it is, as is shown in this photo, each of the pages opens out, so that the messy backside, which I love to see, I love that it's there and you can still look at it, but it's hidden inside. When the book is all assembled together, you don't see the working back of the fabric, because they're doubled up like that. And I thought that was an ingenious, is there another picture of it? I thought that was an ingenious, there's another glimpse at this. So they're doing it like a little scrapbook here, which I thought was a lovely idea too. Not what I'm doing this time, but I'm definitely storing that idea away for later. And there's another one here. And I think one of Paula's was this format too. Yes, I even remember Paula commenting on the fact that it said, warning, do not iron over black logos on front and back covers. So I don't know if what she had was like a copy of this. The fabric certainly looks lovely here, and I don't think Paula was that impressed with the fabric on the ones she got, if I remember. And this one's 18 quid. Again, I don't think she paid anything like that for it. And again, I just love this idea that the book is assembled so that the insides are all, so the reverse of the work is all folded inside and you don't see it, but it's kind of still there. You can still see it if you want to. So I want to create something like this. It's a bit strange thing, isn't it, that you can't iron the front and back logos. I mean, what's going to happen? Is it going to come off, transfer itself to your work? You'd think when they design a book like that for that much money that they would make it so that you can so that it's ironable, wouldn't you? Really? Anyway, so and then also while I was looking all of this up, I saw this coming up, and this is kind of, I suppose, what I've got in mind. I love the idea of having this book where they've already printed the names of the stitches and you can just fill them in. But again, I didn't want to pay 18 quid for it. I just love the idea that you can, follow along here, fill in these little circles that they've got with seed stitch or whatever. Yeah, I do love that idea, but I can kind of do it myself. So I decided I couldn't justify spending this money on it, tempting though it was. Very, very tempting. In fact, looking at it again, I'm still getting tempted. I'm going to close that page, so... Then I also saw this blog came up, so I kept this to show you. I love what this lady's done. So this is, hang on, I'll go right back to the top. Stitchinglife.uk. Karen Turner Stitching Life. The name of the blog is stitchinglife.uk. And I love what she's done. I love those pebbles that she's filled in with different stitches. I think she's done one with leaves and there's flowers there. Just trying out all these different stitches. I just love that. I love that idea. I can imagine myself doing lots of these books. I will leave this page open and I'll remember to link to this in a minute because I think she's got lots of nice ideas there. I tend to not look at blogs so much these days since I stopped blogging myself and got into YouTubing, but there's still, there's still a lot of very active bloggers out there doing, sharing all kinds of inspiring ideas. Another thing that popped up were these books, lots of books full of hundreds of stitches, and I loved the look of this one. Now, I managed to find this one through Awesome Books, and I hadn't bought from Awesome Books before, but they're brilliant. This book actually, it says $12.99 there, and it's out of stock now because I bought the last copy they had at the time. It's a brilliant book. It's got over 700 step-by-step photographs, and it. At the time it was, I think I paid $3.49 for this. That included postage within the UK. Not only that, but apparently this company, for every book you buy, they donate a book to someone that needs it somewhere in the world. I just thought, how lovely is that? So I've got the book. It arrived within 2 days. I'm very impressed. I don't know how they do that for the money, the cost of posting it, Here it is. So you can see that it's a used book. It's got some fading and stuff. That doesn't matter. It's got $1.25 on it. Now, whether that was kind of in a charity shop or something, but of course this also included the postage. This is the envelope it came in. Nice sturdy envelope. Don't know if the cost of postage comes out on there. It was tracked, 48-hour tracked delivery. It doesn't say what the postage would have cost, but it wouldn't have been far off. So I paid $3.49. Maybe this was $1.25, and the rest of the $3.49 was the postage. That would be about right. It still wouldn't be a lot, because it's a fairly weighty book. But anyway, it's a lovely book. One of the things I love about it is there's photos all the way through. They say step by step. They're not all step by step. I mean, that whipped chain stitch has just got, it's not really, I wouldn't call that a step by step. On the other hand, with plaited fly stitch, they have done 3 steps. I guess that depends. I wouldn't call that step by step for single feather stitch, I don't think. But I think these are enough for me to go on. And there are 700 of them. One of the things I love is that they give a little bit of information about each of the stitches, what they're used for, little bits of history about it. Yeah, and they're organised in different categories depending on their uses. So here we go. There's a section for canvas stitches at the back. The fabric stitches are going to be the ones I'll be mostly doing. So yeah, they're organised into line stitches, borders, filling, detached filling, isolated stitches, motif, edging, hem stitches, insertion, and other fabric stitches. I think it's going to be really fun to work my way through this a little bit in the same way that Christine did, but with a slightly different I think I shall pull out of here for this little project that I'm going to do. I'll pull out the ones that I think are fairly simple and easy for slow stitching kind of projects. But I will, when I'm working on my vintage Stittionary, I'll carry on mainly following Christine, but I will slot in any that are in here that aren't included, that weren't included in Christine's series, because I know she didn't do 700, that's for sure. She'd still be going now. But yeah, lovely little book for £3.49. I'm delighted. So yeah, definitely recommend awesome books for sure. I don't know if they're everywhere in the world. I'm not sure actually. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, my husband came into the craft room the other day and said, can you use this before I chuck it or donate it, whatever. And I had just been thinking about doing this book, and I thought, haha, ping, this will do it. Well, certainly will start it off. I think this will be nice to stitch into because it's a nice soft cotton, it's fairly sturdy fabric, and it's got the lines to follow, which can be really useful when you're practicing stitches. I also think if I get on well with this, I've got some other fabrics. I've been pulling these out ready for a Create and Craft with Christine related project I'm going to be doing soon. But yeah, just to show you what I mean, I've got some of these lovely linen pieces that I got from B. Henderson, very kindly sent me, and these will be lovely to use as well. Different textures and neutral colours of linen type fabrics to practice my stitching in, and maybe do one of those kind of journals like I was just showing on that blog. This I've also got ready for the Christine project, but again, it would be quite nice for doing stitching into because of the lines. So first thing I need to do is dismantle this shirt. I will cut the button and buttonhole plackets off first in one piece, because I do tend to use these for closures and things like that. So I will cut them off with a little bit of seam allowance there. And that way, if I decide I want to join them to the top or something, whatever, I've got a little bit of space there to join them with. So I'm going to take both the plackets off first. Here we go. I've taken the collar off as well. There's the buttons. Whoops. There's the buttonhole. I will take the sleeves off. I'll take each of the sleeves off and the side panels. So probably let's go up this. Let's take this back panel off first. So I'm going to go up as far as I can there. I think that's going to be the easiest way. And snip across. This fabric's ripping so easily. I think he's had this a long time. Love the colours in this. There we are. So there's one nice biggish piece of fabric. When I know what pieces of fabric I've got, then I'll decide what size I'm going to do my pages, because they don't need to be a standard size. I don't mind about that at all. Right, so here I'm going to go under the pocket. I might leave a bit of spare under the pocket, because that could end up being a front page or something like that. So yeah, so I'm going to take that off in one piece. I love the idea of making this shirt into a cute and useful little stitch sampler book. Right, so I will just keep breaking this shirt down like this into the biggest pieces I can make it, really. Right, looking at what I've got now, these are my kind of main larger flat pieces. There are quite a lot of long strippy pieces, which I could end up using to tie the whole thing together, perhaps with a plain linen cover on it or something, and tied together with this. Then I've got lots of other pieces as well, but I need to bear in mind that I need them to all be long enough to go back. to fold back on themselves. So each piece needs to be long enough to fold over to make one page. So I like the idea of incorporating this pocket somewhere inside the book, and that could be for keeping my basic stitching supplies. That would mean I'd need to make sure my finished book size is big enough. I mean, these colours were going lovely with my vintage stationery, and I guess this is kind of vintage fabric because I know John's had this shirt for a long time. This is kind of a bit, I tore it accidentally there as well, but yeah, so some of these pieces might not be long enough to be able to fold over to make a whole page, but I can patch them together if I find I need a bit more, or I'll just save them to use for something else. I do love it's lovely soft worn cotton, and I love the colours, so yeah, that will definitely get used. So I think I'm going to aim for my main pages to be this sort of size. The cover will be slightly larger, and I can stitch this inside the cover. It's kind of what I'm thinking. So I'll put that to one side for now. See how many of these pages I can get, because I could always add in a few plain linen pages as well. I quite like the look of it with this. I just now need to see how many pages I can get out of the pieces I've got. So it needs to be big enough to make like an A6, but bearing in mind that it's got to fold back and have space for the eyelets. So that piece is optimum width, and I'm going to end up with a little bit of spare going that way. So, and then I'll have to decide whether I want to leave the frayed edges, which at the moment I'm favouring because it does fray beautifully, this fabric. So yeah, I think I probably will. So this one's cut a bit crooked. I'll tear that off straight. I'll make it a little bit larger than a little bit longer this way. So let's just tear it off. There. So this piece is now too short on its own, but as I say, I could patch pieces together if I decide I want just a little bit more, or I'll just save these pieces to use in my vintage stationery because I think they'd be perfect in there. Okay, so now I'm going to go through all of this and make as many pieces. I'll straighten up this edge and then make as many pieces this size as I can to become my main pages of my little book. So you can see it's going to be a little dinky book, but that's ideal for my purposes. Right, I've got my little craft iron out now. I've cut as many pages as I can get, all this size. I think, did I end up with 8? 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, 8, so it'll be 16 sides that I can use. The idea is that each of these pieces will be doubled back. The reverse of all the stitching, the messy backside, will all be hidden inside because the pages will come over here and be threaded together there, and then you'll turn the book like that. Then I cut a piece of the linen just a little bit bigger, which will become the outside cover, and then this pocket can go inside either in the front or the back, probably the back actually, and in there I can pop a couple of bobbins of thread, some needles, anything else I think I might want, perhaps a little chalk, one of these little chalk pencils can be a handy thing for marking out stitches, something like that. Perhaps a needle threader. Yeah, I could end up putting a piece of felt on the front here as well. So I've left the edges of that frayed and I'm just going to stitch that down. I think I'm just going to use this really neutral thread. It's actually a crochet thread, but I think it'll be nice enough to stitch with. Then I will put some eyelets in. I could just cut little holes and make them into buttonholes and do that, but since I've got my trusty crocodile, which is made for this kind of thing, and I've got some eyelets, hoping I can find enough that are big enough, and I can either use book rings or tie it together with ribbon or cord later on. But of course I can untie them and take each page out to work on, and then I can put it in on my embroidery hoop if I want to. But it just, even if I don't put it in the hoop, it'll still be easier to work on. I won't have to kind of work on the whole book. Yeah, and take out each page individually. I think it's going to be brilliant. So I want to just iron these pages flat now, and iron a crease in the right place on this piece of linen. It almost was exactly right anyway. And then later on I might get a piece of this leftover fabric, I've got some here, and wrap around there to make a book edge. Perhaps that could be really nice. So I've cut them all the same size. I've frayed each of them all around. I've just got to fold them in half now and give that a little press. And they all sit nice and flat. So I'm going to work through and do them, decide what I'm doing about the holes, and then I'll be back to show you the next. Right, I'm getting on quite well. I've discovered that I haven't got anywhere enough eyelets, matching eyelets. So I'm going to be hand stitching little eyelets or buttonholes to thread this lot together, but never mind, that's fine, I don't mind doing that. And I've started to put the book together and use some of the trimmings on the shirt, so I like the idea of just putting perhaps the word stitches here, or perhaps slow stitches, I don't know, I think just stitches will do. There, and I've just layered those up, so I'll stitch them on before, so that all the messy bits in here and hidden away. But I'm just pinning it on here just so I can sort of place things and get the look of it, you know. I took a little trimming bit from the shirt and just wrapped it around the spine like that, and then a couple of pieces matching from the buttonhole placket, because I thought, well, these have already got the buttonhole made, I may as well use it. So that will go on like that, that will go on like that. There'll be a matching piece on the other side, and eventually I will put ties all the way through. That will tie the whole book together, and these pages will also be tied in because they'll have eyelets here and here. That's why I didn't have enough, because I've got 8 pages here and each of the pages would need 4 eyelets, so I just didn't have 32 of anything, so I can punch holes in those in a minute. And then on the back I need to stitch my pocket, so that could get stitched on now, I guess. This needs to be laid out flat so I can work on it. Frayed out the top and bottom edges of these as well, and I've just left that little bit of frayed edge down there showing because I've got like that. I just need to make sure that I need these buttonholes to line up with each other, and I need them to line up with the holes that will be in here as well, so the holes will have to go there. So I think probably the next thing is to at least tack these pieces on the cover, and then I'll put one of these inside and mark through where the holes are going to be. It's going to be about there, which is probably good. I'll just put a hole there. About there. Yeah, that's pretty good. Okay, that's going to be about right. So I'm going to get those out the way for a minute, and I'm going to stitch everything onto here. The nice thing about this kind of way of constructing it is that the whole thing, all of the pages in the cover can always be taken apart again and worked on some more. The pages will be able to open up like this again and go onto a embroidery hoop or whatever, and then fold it back in and tied back into the book. So yeah, I think it's a lovely construction. Right, so I'm going to do a bit of tacking on here now. So this will just be pretty straightforward. Running stitch like that. It will show on the back, but I like the look of that in this thread. I think it's going to be nice. Ouch, if I decide at any point I don't like the look of it anymore, I can always put something else on here, doesn't matter. This is going to take me a little while, so I won't make you sit and watch all through that. I'm going to put my audiobook back on and enjoy a bit of quiet stitching. I might even decide that I want to do more rows of stitching than I really need, just to make it look on purpose, if you know what I mean. You can see lots of rows of stitching. I could stitch all the way up and down the whole page, and then it will look on purpose. In fact, I think that's a really good idea. Obviously I can't carry that all across the back unless I take the pocket off first. Do you know what? I'm going to do that. I think that is a genius idea. So if I take this piece and the pocket off for now, put them to one side, I'll run rows and rows of straight stitches all along this whole front cover, and that will allow me to stitch these pieces on as I go. When I've done that, I can then put the pocket on, and the extra bits of stitching from the pocket you're not even going to notice. Fab. Right, so I'm going to do that off camera, because it's going to take me a little while, and I'll be back when I'm ready for the next bit. Here's where I'm at. I'm quite happy with the look of the stitches all over there, and that disguises the fact, sort of, that I've stitched the pocket on the inside, and where I've stitched these pieces on, because it goes all the way through. So I stitched the pocket on now. I'll be able to put things in there, and I've placed the pages where they will sit. So what I want to do now is make holes through. So I'm getting everything lined up. I've put everything where I want it to be, and I think the sensible thing would be to make a hole or two holes through here and into one of the pages, and then transfer that to the other pages. So if I take all of the rest out, just leave that one page there. That's actually the wrong way round. It's because it's got to be the open end that gets the holes through. Just make sure that works right. It's a bit close to the edge really. I think I'm going to just move it in a little bit. I'm just going to press really hard through there and there, and hopefully that will leave enough of a mark. Yeah. I can just push that through with my bradawl, and that's where I will make my eyelets. I'll need to make holes in through that pocket as well, so everywhere where I'm poking these holes I'm going to have to make a little eyelet. That would be good practice. Good practice making eyelets, because that's a lot to make. 4 on the cover. Yeah, I can see the holes that I made before there. There we go. So yeah, 4 on the cover, and then 4 on each of my 8 pages. So that's a lot of eyelets I've got to make, and I think it is worth doing them rather than just leaving the holes, you know. So what I'm going to do now is line the pages up, probably one by one for accuracy, and transfer the holes onto each of these pages. Right, I've finished making holes in each of the pages, so I've got them all ready to go. I've torn a couple of strips of scraps of calico actually that I was using for a different project, and I've also cut myself 8 pieces of this cotton interlining, curtain interlining. you know, you could use batting, you could use if you've got a fleece or something like that, something a layer of t-shirt material, just something. It's just nice to have something to give a little bit of body to the fabric when you're stitching into it. Sometimes I might not always use it, but I thought I'll have that ready. So I'm going to be putting that inside each of these pages. So I've cut the pieces to hopefully be just slightly smaller. If they're not, I'm going to have to trim them a bit. Yeah, that looks about right. So each one will go inside like that. The page will fold over and it will go inside the book like this. I'll stack them all up and then it will be time to thread everything together. Okay, I've stacked them all up. There's still room for everything inside the cover, so that's good. I think the trickiest bit now is going to be threading these all together, and I'll probably just tie them in a bow on the outside. It might be easier to wait until I've done the eyelets, but for one thing I want to see what it's going to look like when it's all together, and for another thing I might find that I decided I don't need to make 32 eyelets after all, so I'm going to see how it goes. I'm going to try threading it together. I'll probably just find a large bodkin needle that I can thread this through, and then I can take it right through this. So I think that'll be the easiest way. Okay, hoping this one will work. It's got a reasonably sharp point actually and a huge eye, so fingers crossed this will do the trick. I'm going to try just going through each one at a time. I've cut this slightly short so the needle isn't having to go through the interlining as well. It might have been a mistake. It might have been better to keep it, I don't know, it might have been better in hindsight. It's too late now, but it might have been better to have that travel right across to here to keep it the same thickness here, and also maybe making the eyelets would have been easier with the interlining behind them. But I didn't think that through, and I've cut all the pieces now, so we're going to go with it. So hopefully this won't be too tricksy to do. I'm not going to try and put it through too many at a time. I've got these pieces are quite long, about 50. Yeah, going on 50 centimetres, they're just as long as the scraps that I happen to have, but I think it does need to be quite a good length to go through all of this and then have enough left to tie a bow as well. And of course I could make the eyelets and use a book ring like the little book that I first saw Paula opening on their channel. I've got some book rings. I've got it into my head that I want to do it this way, so we will see. Can't wait to show John what I've done to his shirt. With the book rings it would be easier to just unclip it and take a page out to work on. Going through the last one now. Oh, that's tough work getting through that one. I think I'm going to have to enlarge that hole first. Have another go. Here it comes. Whoa, come on. There we go. Got it. Okay. Now we find out if the plan's going to work. don't want it to be tied too tightly. Yeah, I do think in hindsight it would have made more sense to carry the interlining all the way across so that it isn't too narrow here. If I decide that's a problem, I could still take some more pieces of this linen and add little trims there. That could look quite nice, just down here, to reinforce it a bit and thicken up that side. But I think as long as I make it so that I don't tie it too tightly, I think this is going to be alright. I think it's looking pretty cute actually. I could also maybe think about putting a button on the front and do a button closure. So it's getting a bit overexposed now, I don't want to shut the sunshine out. So let's just tie that before I go and accidentally pull it apart or something. And I could put some beads on the end of that as well. Oh, that's cute, eh? Need to stitch my word on there. And let's put this second one through. I mean, it might be that I decide I don't need to do the eyelets there, but that's enough. I don't know, because I'm going to have to take the pages out one at a time and work on them. I will have to unthread this a few times. So yeah, it might be easier if I've got eyelets there. It'll go through easier because the holes will be larger and smoother, you know. Right, just got this last one. Let's learn from my experience last time and enlarge that hole before I even try to go through. There we go. Make sure that's not too tight along that edge. Cute like this. I could when the pages, each page is done, I could add little page tabs there as well, perhaps with letters on or just with buttons on, just for fun or whatever. And it would be quite nice. I mean, I'm going to use it as a stitch sampler, but you could definitely do a similar thing to create a little stitch journal like that one I showed you on the blog. Yeah, like a little sort of almost a memory book, or just because book. Yeah, love this design. Let's see what it'll look like when it's opened. Yeah, that'll be fine. I can maybe loosen the ties a little bit if I want this to open flatter, but I think that's pretty good actually. So I hope you like that little idea. Maybe you think about giving something like that a go yourself. I love the idea of turning an old shirt into a cute little book. Whether it's as a journal or stitch sampler or whatever you want to do with it, I think that's quite a cute idea. And I think just a book like this, an empty book like this, would be a really nice little gift to a stitching friend as well. So I will be back soon to start to show you how I'm getting on, start stitching into this book. I can't wait to start stitching into it. It's one of those things that I hadn't planned to do, but once I got the idea in my head, I just couldn't wait to get started, and now I'm itching to get in there. It feels lovely in my hands as well, which I really like. I love the look of all the stitching that's on it already. So I didn't show it from all angles before, did I? And it occurs to me that it would be lovely with, you could do use some old jeans as the cover. That would be really nice. In fact, I wish I'd thought of that before, because I got some of hubby's old jeans as well, so it would have been his shirt and his jeans, wouldn't it? Still, I can make another one and do that. Anyway, that's quite enough for me. I just want to say before I go, a huge thank you as always to my amazing channel members. I'll have them scrolling up here as I'm chatting. 45 members now. I'm blown away by it. It's so it's such a buzz to get a response like that, and I really appreciate every single one of you. Thank you. And thank you to everybody for watching, for subscribing. That don't cost anything, just click the subscribe button. That's all you need to do. Don't cost anything, and just literally click the button and you're done. And it really helps the channel to grow. And for leaving your comments and liking and just watching the videos, joining us for the lives and all of that is very much appreciated. And of course, you're always welcome to join us too in the Facebook group and the Discord community. There's always stuff going on in there. It's a lovely bunch of creative fun, lovely people all supporting each other and inspiring each other. I just love that. Anyway, I'm going to stop waffling on now and maybe go off and do a bit of stitching. Thanks very much for joining me today. Hope you enjoyed that, and I'll see you again really soon.